I was going over the weather, but it sounds awful. I'll certainly answer any questions.
We'll open up front row there, Bill.
Well, Urban, first of all, congratulations on grandfatherhood. Could you walk us through your day, what it's been like for you with that and this?
I guess that's all right. I don't want to infringe upon anyone's privacy, but it's out there now. So last night we were just going to have dinner, and she was going to come over, and we got a phone call, and Shelley and Nikki had their whatever talk they have about that with the department. And she said, "Looks like things are going." Just like moving. She said, "Yep." And she went to the hospital, and they kept her over, and then I said, "Does that mean?" And she said, "Yes." So we got a little bit of sleep. Shelley went at 4 o'clock. The baby was born at 5:30. I grabbed my son about 5:45, and we were down there about 6:15. And I watched got to meet the baby, make sure my daughter's fine, which she is. Dad's fine, and we watched the selection show for the maternity ward.
Could you describe your feelings on this day and also the matchup with Clemson?
Yeah, I'm just one of those guys. Just I'm very, I understand these are all gifts, and I'm just very grateful that God blessed my daughter with a healthy baby and a great husband. And so that's the first thoughts. And second of all, there's so many teams. I'd never really watched it this close because I guess we've had time. And the amount of teams that were worthy of this, that I just said, I'm going to send a text out to our players and staff right now that we receive this opportunity with incredible humility and class, because I can name 6, 7 teams right now that are that quality of teams, and so we're going to do the best we can to represent.
Front row, Dave.
As Bill said, congratulations on being a grandfather. It was such an odd year where not making the Big Ten championship game, you could argue helped you guys. You didn't have to play in another game. Your players didn't have to risk injury, and you guys were able to go all in on recruiting. Can you just discuss your thoughts on how maybe not playing in the Big Ten championship?
Yeah, I remember the other end of it because you lose that week. When I first experienced it in the SEC, and because there's only one more week of recruiting, and that's obviously a huge deal. Those are all things I think that need to be discussed and the calendar, those type of things. But it was a bizarre year. It's a year but I don't really question anything. Just we got to do our jobs every day, and we won the rivalry game in that fashion. And recruiting dinner that night. The next morning we're all on planes before dawn, and you're going. And no wonder that half our coaching staff got sick and everything else because it was a lot of work that week.
What was the confidence level around here? Did you guys feel like you were definitely in?
I wasn't around here.
Or just even through text messages?
Yeah, I was with our team Friday. We had a practice Friday. I think it started back in 2006 when you just don't know until you know. And I remember I found out with Gene Smith and my family in 2014 when American found out, when they flashed our sign on ESPN. I found out today when they flashed our sign on ESPN. So a lot of anxiety and a lot of hope, because we certainly were one of the best teams in the country, but I think there's some great teams out there.
Front row right, Austin.
Urban, you've prepared for a lot of bowl games and you've been through the playoff ones before. Where do you go from here? What does the month look like for Ohio State training camp or whatever you want to do in order to get to Clemson first?
I started it already, but as we speak, Brian Multolini, my ops guy, we're going to meet right after this with the practice schedules exactly the way we did in 14, because that was the uncharted waters, and all focus obviously is on this one. I didn't think, when I first heard about the playoff, I thought we'd split up our staff and have guys work on the other games in case, and when you get into it, you don't have time. So it's going to be all hands on deck. We have our big recruiting weekend this weekend, and finals week, so those are all the things that we'll be discussing right now.
Is there any part of it, just for those of us who don't watch practice, is it like in August? Do you do some fundamentals and then shift to game prep, or how does that work?
Oh, in a way it is. We do. It'll be full fundamentals this next week. We have 2 or 3 practices this week, full fundamentals. Then the next week will be preliminary game plan, and then as we get around Christmas time, game plan goes in, then you're in game week. And the last thing you want to do is give guys things to work on that we're not going to do. So it's going to be hard fundamentals, which we have a lot of work to do in certain areas. And then preliminary game plan and game plan.
second row right, Ben.
Urban, when you look at the Clemson program, do you see maybe a little bit of yourself? It seems like ever since 2013, when you guys played in the Orange Bowl, it's you, them, and Alabama who are in it every year.
I know their team very well because I know their coach. I know most of their coaches too. They've got an excellent staff, excellent head coach, and they're loaded. You know, I know exactly the players because I've been on both of our rosters. There was Clemson and Ohio State were in that conversation in Alabama. So we know them and a lot of respect for them, and we lost that game. It was a great game if I remember it. It was a great sales are gone too, but we know exactly what we're getting into. And I watched it last night.
Specifically with Deshaun Watson, it seemed like you guys were in that recruitment for a while. What do you recall about that recruitment?
It was over. We tried to get involved. He committed early. I want to say sophomore year, Gainesville, Georgia. Not a good player, great player. Not a good person, but a great person. I know his coach, his high school program. And we did. We tried really hard to get involved. It was, they did a good job locking him down. I want to say sophomore year in high school.
Front row right, Tim.
Urban, if you had gone before that committee this morning, before they make their final call, what would you say is the reason why your team should be and is included in this college football playoff? What would you tell? What is it?
First of all, I won't do that. Second of all, I don't know if I want to go there because I have too much respect. I never had a chance to watch games like that. And I watch the games, and I'm always about especially the older I get, about the players. And I mean, you talked about some great football last night. Guys going as hard as they possibly can. So all due respect to him, I'm not going to go and make an appeal. I don't have to. I will make an appeal for how hard kids are playing right now. This is the golden years of college football, man. When I watched last night, it doesn't get any better. And what I've seen this season, as far as our conference separate, we've gone from in 2012. I remember I was actually shocked at the disrespect that because I never looked at it that way, but how lousy everybody said our conference was, and we weren't. I don't think we're lousy, but we weren't great. And now to say that I hear every person that it's the best conference in college football. You tell me that's not just a great reward for administrations and coaching staffs and players that have made that drastic change.
But specifically your team, you guys were the youngest team in major college football going into this season. How far has this team come in 4 months? I mean, can you kind of quantify right now?
I think it was a year early. I think as we went through 2 days, I knew that we had to stay healthy, and fortunately we stayed fairly healthy. We had to develop, and we did. Whoever thought Billy Cooker and those guys would develop the way Marshall would stay healthy. He's never been healthy for a season. You develop Chris Worley and a guy named Jerome Baker, and that D-line would end up being a strength. So those are all areas that Mike Weber, 1,000-yard rusher, the redshirt freshman, so I can go on and on. And you don't really think that far ahead because you don't have time. But now I can reflect on the season. I'm very proud of the progress. And that game in Norman, Oklahoma turned out to be kind of a difference in this whole situation.
Front row left, Doug.
Urban, for you as a head coach, how much do you value conference championships, and how much do you think they are important in evaluating any team out there?
That's a great question. I value them as much as that's why I go to work every day. You can see the Big Ten championships right there. And I think when they put together this college football playoff, I think do you play a light schedule and put everything into your conference championship? And that's not what I'm feeling across the country. They want to make every game important, which they have. And so to answer your question, we value it. What's my opinion of the value for?
Just how anyone should evaluate.
I think it's distributed.
And then, I know the playoff is tough. It's 4 great teams. It's a physical grind. It's hard to prepare for. But having been through it, is it fun? Like this, like you get the 4 best teams together because it hasn't always been this way. You were that in the old system. Did you won it, but like, is it great for college football? Do you think this is a good setup?
It is great. It's great for the players. I mean, it's hard now.
Right.
What our guys get ready to go through is really hard. Those 4 teams, all the teams get ready to go play these big-time bowl games. So I think one of the things that's interesting that Billy Donovan, my little neighbor down in Florida, I used to give him a hard time when he said, "Do you realize how hard March Madness is?" And I looked at him and said, "Do you realize 365 days a year we have March Madness? You can't lose." And so it is, I don't use that word fun very often. It's very rewarding. It's why you come to Ohio State. Understand that the greatest fun of all is when you jog out the field victorious. And so we're going to do everything we can to have that feeling again.
Second row left, Ryan.
Just when you look at the last few games y'all have played in indoor stadiums like this one will be, obviously the Fiesta Bowl last year against Notre Dame, the 2 playoff games, the Big Ten Championship against Wisconsin. Is there something about this team and this offense that's more conducive to playing indoors when it's 70 degrees and artificial turf or anything like that?
I've never really looked at it that way. I think when you start getting near the end of the season, there's some conversation about when you're dealing with elements, you want to be able to throw the ball, and we do have a big part of our game is horizontal as well. So I haven't really thought much about it.
Far right over here, Andy.
Coach, knowing what you know about this Clemson team and being as familiar with them as you are, maybe you don't know everything about them yet until you watch a lot of tape. But as of last night after watching the ACC championship game and knowing them as well as you do, what kind of jumps out to you as far as them as a team and what it's going to take to win the game?
The skill set on offense is over the top. They're all NFL players. They have one of the top, maybe the top or top 2 or 3 players in America. Deshaun Watson. They go fast. They're creative on offense. I think they got one of the best defense coordinators in the country. They're very multiple on defense. It's not just one defense. So, but it all starts with personnel, and I think I haven't seen it, but I'm going to find out here in the next few days. But I would imagine them in Alabama would be the #1 team as far as NFL prospects in the country right now.
And last 2 questions, far left, second row, Ari.
Urban, you talked about working on fundamentals and things when you go through this month because you're going to have more than a month between when you play games. And you've been through this before in the old system.
27 days.
Between the time you last played and when you play. Whatever, it's the same thing. I was just wondering how much, even in the old system when this kind of gap was normal, could you see a transformation in your team? Even you want to be at the apex of where you are right now, but can you even get in a month of training? Can you even take a next step forward? Make a transformation?
I think with a very young team you can. And I think I get your question that if it's a mature team, then you try to just get them to the dance as prepared as you can. But we're so young, and there's so much improvement. Everybody in this room knows what it is too. We have to get much better. And so the challenge has already been laid across the table last week with the players and coaches that for us to compete at this level, we have to be 9 strong. And at times we're not 9 strong. And that has to happen. So we have 27 days. A couple days ago it was 29 days to get to be 9 strong.
In 2014, going into it, you knew it was about the battle between playing in the Big Ten Championship and then winning 2 playoff games on the road, that is. And I know you were asked about just not having to play in this game, but how big of a difference do you think it is for this team to not have to have gone through that battle, and does that change anything from the way this team will be able to
Yeah, because I've been in that situation a couple times in Florida and here now too. I'd much rather play in that championship game and win it, because your team gets another chance to prepare and get bigger. Get better at their skill sets. So, but that just means we have to catch up that much, and you have to somehow simulate that game here in the next couple weeks to get them ready to play that final game. I think that's a big deal. I remember we played Ohio State in 6. And I thought a big part of our success was the fact we had to play a rugged SEC championship game, and Ohio State was offering another
6 weeks.
Yeah, and we were still going. So I have to somehow create that in practice.
And final questions, far left, Matt.
Just asking about the system as it is, and you mentioned winning the Oklahoma game, that obviously was important, and the committee members have said that was a separator. A game all the way back in September, did you think coming off the field, man, I know you had a whole lot of season to go, but you schedule a difficult game like that, but Oklahoma scheduled had a really good year, but they didn't get close to getting it.
Well, when I first saw the schedule, I wasn't all jacked up about taking our team, a young team on the road to Oklahoma. That was, I like competition and all that, but if you have a veteran team that was our first road trip. for half that team that got on the plane, I've never done that before. And to go in a place where they never lose, but I think, and I've never got involved in scheduling. I just let my boss do it. But I'm curious, I want to have a conversation with Gene and listen, and not that I'm going to give my input, but I just think as we go forward, that's critical on who you're playing early in the season. Obviously, it benefited us, and I think Oklahoma, you watched them play the other day, they're as fine a team as there is in college football. If they didn't lose that game, they'd be in the playoff. Those are all things that, a lot of conversation, because it's razor thin, the difference between being in and being out.
And when you're watching Penn State, Wisconsin last night, are you thinking, God, I wish I was there? I mean, as you watch that.
Of course, that's, you do, you know, the value of a conference championship, and I think Kirk Herbstreit said it best too, and I actually talked to him yesterday that, you know, it was everything to get to the Rose Bowl, and I grew up with that. And it's, I don't want to say it's sad, I don't want to say it's disappointing, but, you know, I remember when I was in Florida, we lost one game, went to Sugar Bowl, and everybody was upset. Like, that's why that used to be a big part of everything. I just hope we don't lose too much of that, because that's still the Rose Bowl. It's still a conference champion. And, but it's all good. College football is as strong as it's ever been. Thank you, guys.
Coach,
Thank you.
Assistance.